Every day, there are so many crimes that it is hard for police and investigators to solve every case. Thankfully, there are lots of people online who have lots of free time. In some cases, social media can provide crucial evidence that would have been considerably harder to locate in the past. In this video, we'll see the top 10 crimes that were solved by the help of social media.
Welcome to Hear This. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Number 10. The case of Grateful Doe. A young man was discovered in an automobile accident in Southern Virginia in 1995. 2 Grateful Dead concert ticket stubs were the only form of identification he had, because the rest of his body was beyond recognition. He was known to the authorities as Grateful Doe. Years later, his skull was used to produce a computer-generated representation of his face. His picture was shared online by members of the Websleuths.com group, who were looking for information on who he really was. In the end, this face was uploaded to Facebook. Jason Callahan, who was 19, was quickly identified by his family, who sent in DNA samples to prove it. Jason informed his mother that he was going to a Grateful Dead concert, but he did not specify where. He traveled a long distance from his home in South Carolina to attend the show. His mother was unsure about where to file the missing person report in which jurisdiction. His half-sister claims that the family believed he had severed relations with them in order to begin his own life. They were unaware that he was in fact missing or deceased. Number 9. A hate crime is solved by Twitter. 2 gay males were encountered by a group of friends in Center City, Philadelphia in September 2014. They questioned whether they were a couple. The group battered and robbed them when they replied, yes. One of the people hurt had to go to the hospital because his injuries were so bad, and his mouth was wired shut. A security camera caught the group earlier that evening, but the police couldn't figure out who they were. To aid in the investigation of this hate crime, they pleaded with anyone with information to come forward. Around 5,000 people were following the Twitter account Fan since '09 at the time. He frequently posted amusing articles regarding Philadelphia sports. He made the decision to tweet a link to the security footage, and request assistance from everyone. Internet users were able to locate a group snapshot through subtle hints in the clip, which let them pinpoint the restaurant where the assailants had eaten that evening. They next checked Facebook's check-in function to determine who was present on the night of the incident. Finding the criminals' identities only took them 2 hours. Number 8. Abraham Shakespeare's murder. Websleuths is a website community that is exactly what it sounds like. During their free time, a lot of people try to solve a murder, or find a missing person by looking at information from cold cases. Abraham Shakespeare won millions in the lottery in 2006. He chose Dee Moore to serve as his financial counselor. She murdered Shakespeare in 2009 and buried his body beneath concrete, so she could continue to manage his finances. He was reported missing, but despite their suspicions, the authorities were unable to gather sufficient evidence to bring her to court. The police were helpless, so the Websleuths community started looking for any further evidence that would help identify Shakespeare's killer. This worried Dee Moore so much that she set up her own account, in an effort to thwart anyone who found proof against her. Users were able to locate Moore's office using her IP address. Law enforcement received that information, which was added to the body of proof amassing against Dee Moore. She was ultimately held responsible for the crime. Number 7. Numerous bodies of Jane and John Does. Numerous bodies of Jane and John Does are unidentified, and thousands of people go missing each year. As a result, many families who experience a crime never have closure. The Unidentified page on Websleuths.com is one of the subforums. In order to match the forensic drawings of missing people with images, forum members spend hours searching through yearbooks, Facebook pages, and public databases. Numerous successful matches have been made, one of which involved Linda Jane Hart, a missing person from 1988. In 2011, forensic artist Carl Koppelman, a Websleuth moderator, matched her documents. The Doe Network and Reddit's Bureau of Investigation are just two of the new online groups that have emerged to help find missing individuals. These websites have resolved over 1,000 different issues using the power of crowdsourcing. Number 6. Confession Bear Meme. Evidently, Reddit takes its role in detecting crimes very seriously. Therefore, it stands to reason that if a user admits to murder, they will naturally wish to solve the case. A user called Narado posted a confession bear meme saying, "My sister had an abusive meth addict boyfriend. I killed him with his own drugs while he was unconscious. They ruled it as an overdose." When users questioned him, he replied that there was some truth behind it. As soon as possible, Redditors set to work figuring out who Narado really was. They intended to inform the police if he was in fact involved in a homicide. He turned out to be a 24-year-old male who plays World of Warcraft, smokes marijuana, and engages in martial arts. One Reddit member contacted his sister, who responded by saying that she had never dated a meth addict, and that she and her brother had relocated to a totally different country. It turns out that Narado simply watched far too much Breaking Bad. Number 5. Vine's animal cruelty. When the smartphone app Vine still existed, a teenager submitted a video of him kicking a ginger kitten off his back porch. Although he removed the video, it was shared on Reddit and 4chan in an effort to identify him. They eventually identify him as Walter Easley, a 17-year-old, and report the incident to the police. His personal information was posted on the internet by PETA, which led to death threats. In case you were concerned, the kitten is quite okay. Despite this, Animal Control Services removed all of the pets from the Easley home, while the situation was being investigated. For Easley's mother, whose beloved dogs had been taken as a result of her son's irresponsible behavior, this was especially upsetting. Walter Easley admitted to being cruel to animals in court. He said that he never meant to hurt the cat and that it was just a joke. Number 4. Akron's Jane Doe. Christina Skates, a 22-year-old lady, was searching the Highland Park Cemetery records for one of her ancestors. She noticed a nameless grave from 1975. "Unknown white female bones" was written on it. Skates was driven to try and find out who this girl was. She started looking through the local library's collection when she came across the newspaper article about the murder of this unnamed woman who had been shot in the head. She made as many phone calls as she could to local detectives, before one eventually sent her the digital cold case file. Skates forwarded the files to the Websleuths.com team after uploading them to the Reddit Bureau of Investigation, under the pseudonym Calmaeus. The forensic artist, Carl Koppelman, was able to digitally reconstruct the woman's face from photos of the crime scene. Koppelman is respected in the field of criminal investigation for his exceptional facial recreation abilities. Every time unidentifiable bones are discovered, detectives and medical examiners from all over the nation contact him for assistance. Koppelman was in conversation with a person in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, the location of the unidentified white female bones. It turns out that some of the earlier cases had been left out of the NAMUS missing person database, due to a clerical error. Koppelman was able to locate Linda Pagano after it was updated, and she resembled his sketches perfectly. Her family was able to finally reunite with her remains after 43 years. Additionally, it might bring the case of her murder one step closer. Number 3. Unidentifiable body in a cornfield. A 16-year-old girl's unidentifiable body was discovered in a cornfield in New York in 1979. No one was aware of Tammy Jo Alexander's genuine identity for 36 years. The most bizarre aspect was that Tammy is a native of Florida. The case was unsolved for many years because New York police at the time would never have considered looking for a missing girl in Florida. Once again, the internet saved the day. The information on the unidentified body in New York was first posted on Websleuths.com. In the meantime, Tammy Jo Alexander's former classmate was trying to find her online. She was horrified to find that Tammy had vanished from family members via Facebook, and dismayed that she hadn't spotted Tammy's name triggering a missing persons search on Google. This is due to the fact that the cases from the 1970s were never uploaded to the internet. This buddy decided it was her responsibility to see that Tammy's disappearance was recorded in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. Online investigators made connections in 2015. The next stage is to track down Tammy's murderer. Number 2. Disgusting football players. High school students from Steubenville, Ohio were hosting an end-of-summer party there in 2012. As you might expect, there were kegs and flasks filled with whatever these minors were able to obtain. One of the young females became so inebriated that she passed out, which caused the celebration to take a very dark turn. For several hours, she was repeatedly sexually assaulted by several football players. Even worse, some of the boys urinated on her. A student used the hashtag rape when posting a picture of 2 football players pulling a female by her wrists on Instagram. Surprisingly, none of the party members came forward to reveal their true names. Nobody at the gathering knew who the girl was, because she did not attend their high school. The images from Instagram and other supporting documentation that circulated on social media were reposted by a crime blogger who then accused the local police of displaying bias towards the area's football stars. In fact, this is what happened. Several law enforcement officials asked to be taken off the case, because they felt a loyalty to the football community. The victim and her parents discovered a staggering amount of proof of her rape on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube through this blog and their own research. They assembled the proof and turned it in to the Steubenville Police Department on a flash drive. 1 week later, Trent Mays and Malik Richmond were detained for rape. Without social media, the person who was hurt in the small town where everyone idolized a football player might have never gotten justice. Number 1. Child murder on Facebook. Carolee Ashby, a 4-year-old girl, was hit and run over by a drunk driver in upstate New York on Halloween night in 1968. Police spent decades trying to identify the driver without success. Lieutenant Russ Johnson, a retired police officer, shared the Carolee Ashby story on Facebook after his retirement and said he still regretted not catching her killer. The tale was spread, and a Florida-based woman heard it. The New Yorker, who told the Florida woman about riding in the passenger seat of a car being driven by Douglas Parkhurst, who was only 17 years old at the time, was a friend of the Florida woman. On Halloween night, he hit a child. The girl never went to the police to report Parkhurst, because she carried the guilt with her throughout her entire life. When the police questioned him after receiving this tip, he confessed to the crime. He could not be detained for the murder of Carolee Ashby, since the statute of limitations had expired. If you see on social media that someone is asking for help, don't hesitate to share it, because you may give a step to resolve the case. Which case is the most bizarre? Don't forget to comment below. See you in our next video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we have a new video. Thank you so much for watching.